Perfect. For joining us today. I'm Ria. I'm representing the Ambassadors Club here at ESA. So we are a group of 7, 8 students who are helping ensure that everybody who comes in the incoming class is well informed and are engaged to be a part of the ESA community. So to begin, now we are doing some career or career related sessions, starting with consulting club. But this is the first one that's happening. And now we will begin with consulting club session, and then we will have few others like the tech club and the startup and entrepreneurship club, and you will get information about the same. And at the same time, we will be doing some onboarding sessions to ensure everybody has a smooth incoming towards in the Barcelona city and to know more about ESC and the community. So thank you once again, and I would leave the floor for Daran and Anita, both representing the consulting club. Thank you.
Thanks, Ria. Thanks, Ria, for a very lovely, humble introduction. Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me well, or is my volume low? Just let me know if, okay, perfect. Thanks, Andrea. So welcome, guys. Thank you for making time to join us today. We are excited to share with you what Consulting Club at ESA is, how do we work, what are our objectives, etc. So I'm Anita and I have Daran with me. Just going back to the deck. Okay, yeah. Daran, could you please move to the next slide? Thank you. So we've prepared a small agenda for our discussion today. We'll try to limit this presentation within 20 minutes maybe, so that we can spend most of the time answering the questions you might have about ESA and consulting, particularly at ESA. So moving on, we'll start with our introductions. As I said, I'm Anita. I lead the consulting club on campus with Daran. Before my MBA, I worked at IESE, a consulting firm which specializes in healthcare and pharmaceuticals back in India. I worked with IESE for about 5 years before I joined ESA for my MBA. I interned with McKinsey & Company this summer, unfortunately virtually because of the COVID crisis, but it was regardless a great experience. And I look forward to joining the company back again in July next year after my graduation. I'll be joining the London office. And over to you, Daran.
Great, thanks, Anita. So thanks everyone for today. So my name is Daran, and as Anita said, I'm leading with her the consulting club here at ESA. I'm originally from Brazil, and before I came to ESA, I worked almost 4 years at PwC Consulting, and then during my summer, I actually work in outside of consulting in a different industry. But now I'm going to join Bain, also in London, just like Anita, and for my post-MBA. And I'm very happy to be here today to explain a bit more how exciting is ESE and how is the consulting club here. So if we can move in, I think one part that's very important, I think for everyone to understand, and even when we had our presentations here, is that why actually there is a consulting club. And then specifically, the consulting club mission is to create an inclusive network that empowers aspiring consultants to achieve their dream consulting role. And how we do this actually is by creating a support network that provides coaching that resembles the true interview process, leverage all resources that we have at ESE, and then also provide a customized mentorship. And when we talk about all these different aspects, all of this comes around to make it ESE the #1 European business schools for consulting recruitment. And I'm very happy to say that the consulting club do a great job to help in all these aspects. And specifically, the first thing that we have as a goal is to help all students from the first, second years, and even masters in management and from people from the executive MBA to understand what's the consulting industries, specifically if a consulting is right for you. So from the beginning, we explain from different events, what's management consulting, the different nuances between the firms. Also, we also guide all the students in a structured way, so to prepare everyone to the interview process, from like all the trainings to alumni events and sponsor students help. We have a lot of resources here at IESE that help the consulting club along the way to prepare everyone. Another very important point of the consulting club is that we do customized mentorship along the way. So since the moment you join the consulting club, you're going to receive a mentorship program along the way with specific mentors that will guide you along your process of preparation and recruitment. And finally, but also as important, is that we promote new avenues like workshops and events to reinforce the skills. So we have a lot of events focused on networking, but also on the skills that you're going to develop. And even when you're going to join the consulting firm, you're going to receive trainings even for the consulting skills. So in broad sense, the consulting club are side by side with the career center, and we help the students along the way.
Thanks, Daran. So I'll take over from this point, and we're going to talk about like what a student's journey is typically with the consulting club, and then we'll wrap it up with the club structure and how the operations work. So your journey with the club. I think, as Daran mentioned, there are 4 big elements to what consulting club does for its members and students. But if we go into a little bit more detail, these things manifest into the key 7-8 items that you see on this slide. So the main activities or events through which the club members or students, both first and second years, interact via club is, first of all, of course, the interview preparation workshops and interview prep plan itself. These are basically intense sessions. Some are more intense than others, but these are sessions, 1 hour, 1 to 2 hour sessions on building the skills that are tested in the interviews and that are required to not just clear the interviews, but also be a successful consultant. So these are all interview prep workshops and sessions which you participate through club. Application support. Now, application support is everything around the interviews. So how do you prepare a top-class CV, a well-crafted CL, office selection strategy? How are these things falling in place for each candidate? So all of that support is also provided by the club, apart from the skills workshop and training. Then there are simulation days. So simulation days are basically a super intense 1 full day interview prep, dress rehearsal sessions, wherein we try to mimic a real interview scenario and prepare our students for the interview day in literally a dress rehearsal format. There is mentorship program, as Daran already mentioned. This helps you get the most out of the club and the whole preparation process. This mentorship is customized so that we try and map you to a mentor who really resembles you, your past work ex, your post-MBA goals, so that you can clearly see the path you can perhaps follow, or at least if it's not that case, at least you can get an advice from someone who comes from a very similar background. Then there are a lot of alumni events. We invite our alumni to hold webinars, to also talk about their offices, their experiences, panels, etc. A part of which is women in consulting panels. We have special focus on women in consulting. I think as in any other industry, consulting also is trying to achieve a better gender parity than what it has today. And at IESE Consulting Club, we completely acknowledge that. And that's why we have a dedicated leadership team to promote and organize events more targeted to women in consulting. So to all the ladies out there and all the women who are aspiring consulting roles at IESE and beyond, you will have dedicated or maybe more customized mentorship and events planned for you through the club. Case competitions. So there are certain case competitions run by companies that partner with IESE, and then there are certain case competitions that the club itself run to give students a feel of not just how a case competition is, but also help you prepare for the ultimate goal of these interviews in a more fun and interactive way. An example is Roland Berger case competition, which has been, I think it's been a tradition. It's been traditionally going on at ESA every year for about 10 plus years now, or it could be even higher. So there are more opportunities like these. Last year, ESA Consulting Club partnered with BCG to create a case competition where ESA students wrote their own cases, and then the cases were top 7 cases were selected by BCG and awarded. So that's the case competition part. And then last is the consulting skills training, which is also something that I touched upon earlier. So this is about post you getting that dream offer that you wanted in the consulting world. There is still enough preparation that we can do to make sure that we are really ready for that consulting life and that consulting role. So we leverage not just our alumni who are already in these companies, but also sponsored students who come to school to design certain skill training sessions. For example, Excel, VBA, PowerPoint, brainstorming, even ThinkCell, and other platforms that are often used in consulting, day-to-day roles. And we try to train our students on these skills so that they are more ready than before when they step into their consulting role post MBA. So this is a spectrum of all the activities that happen that the club tries to run. There is, I think this is not everything, but these are the most important things. Moving on, this is just, I think, a good ensemble of big firms, big and medium, and I think even some other non-MBBK firms, consulting firms that visit ESA regularly, that recruit at ESA, that have a good relationship with the school and our students, and in which we have a significant number of alumni. There are different sessions and events and interactive points you will get with each of these firms. One example is Career Forum. For example, this year, next week, we have the virtual Career Forum, where all these firms come and present their work to our students, and they present the job openings, the internship openings, and how that process is like. This is followed by more interactive online sessions where you can connect with a particular office of your interest. The point being that there are enough avenues at ESA which will help you connect with the firm of your interest and particular office or geography of your interest across all these firms. This does not include every firm that visits ESA, but this is more or less the standard list, which is consistent every year. There are always more additions and sometimes rarely eliminations, but more so there are additions every year with small names. Okay, so I think then we are here with the club structure. Consulting Club stands on 4 key pillars. The way we have designed these 4 key pillars are such that together all of these activities offer a full 360-degree support to our members. Starting with interview training, the focus of interview training pillar is to really prepare the content and deliver the content required to prepare the students or club members for interviews. Mentorship pillar is all about, matching and aligning you with somebody of a similar background, or even maybe not similar background, but someone who is in a position to help you and guide you towards your post-MBA goals. For instance, if you come from LATAM, if you come from Brazil and your post-MBA goal is an MBB in London, so then we try to align you with someone who preferably also comes from Brazil and has a full-time offer in London. And then you can try and learn as much as possible from them because you share similarities in your pre and post MBA journey. So mentorship pillar is all about taking care of members beyond just interview training. and giving that, giving that one-on-one support throughout the interview process. The regions pillar is, it aims to provide students enough information and support when it comes to understanding about different geographic regions and office locations, which is usually one of the most important criteria to consider when applying to a consulting firm. Then lastly, we have strategic development and support. I would like to call this as the innovation box of Consulting Club. So strategic development and support pillar basically aims at engaging with all the external stakeholders beyond, like, or literally outside the physical school campus. So that is alumni, that are firms, that are external experts and consultants we bring on campus to train our students, and that is even some other schools and other B schools, peer schools with which we interact and try and gain best practices so that we can all bring it back home and prepare our club members and students better for these interviews. So that's really the strategic development and support pillar. And these pillars are divided by their functions in a very messy way, such that when you put all of these things together, all of these, activities together, that provides a very complete and overall support to the students and club members who are looking forward to getting that dream offer in the consulting industry. So with that, we want to really quickly show you how and who these VPs or vice presidents for Consulting Club this year are. So as you can see, we have, I think, 47 VPs, and each pillar is led by one coordinator. And all of these people are, I think, some of the most motivated and high-spirited people at ESA I've ever met. And I think both Jaran and I can say that we are really honored to be able to work with all of them, and it's a lot of fun as well. As much work it is also a lot of fun giving back to the school and the community. So that's our team this year. I think we want to end with one more important note, which is that the Consulting Club at ESA works extremely closely with ESA Career Development Center, and we do so that I think both CDC and club can offer the best experience to students. And we have Noel, Mike, and Anna as Consulting Club mentors from the CDC side. We meet CDC almost every week. So the benefit of working closely with CDC is literally that, one, it makes more sense for the school to combine both forces and offer a good experience for the students. But I think from a student front, it's also very easy when you see good coherence between CDC and the student body. Of course, there's less confusion, but there's more synergy. And I think I can speak for Consulting Club at least. It's almost every year this synergy between the CDC, which is more so a school entity, and Consulting Club, which is more a student entity. So the synergy is only increasing every year, and it's only good news for the incoming students like most of you. So with that note, I think that really ends our presentation. We wanted to put in information which is really key for Consulting Club and knowing it at an overview level. I think we can open for question and answers right now. So feel free to ask any question you might have about consulting particularly. If you have an admissions question, I think Andrea or Carmen are better people to answer that. But if you have any consulting related questions, Dharan and I are here for you.
Thank you, Anita. Also, there's some questions on the side chat, just in case.
Okay, great. Thanks, Andrea. Starting to read this. Starting with, okay. Is the Consulting Club also accessible for non-MBA ESA students? Okay, good question. So, yes. What I understand by non-MBA ESA students is, so right now, you can be a Consulting Club member if you are an EMBA or GMBA student as well. We do not have a lot of EMBA or GEMBA members in the club, but there are few, and we try to support them in whatever way possible. There is MIM program from ESA, and MIMs have their own consulting club in the Madrid campus. But the beautiful part is that the MIM consulting club and MBA Consulting Club also has some synergy. So we try to support them as well as much as possible. And I think in the next few years, Mike Mascarenas is trying to actually like bring more synergies between the two clubs. So if that was your question, Roberto, then my answer is yes. Let me know if you still have anything to ask. Cool. Which offices do most consulting roles go to? Okay, I think there's no top 2, top 3 offices. Consulting roles from ESA go into literally every office around the world. Consulting recruitment is generally pretty global. However, yes, there are a few offices which are bigger in size in general, in absolute terms itself, and of course, relatively. So Dubai office, UK, LATAM are, I think, regions where a lot of consulting roles or consulting offers are made from. But I think like recently we got an offer from Lagos. So I think literally there's no office which we can say is inaccessible at ESA. It's of course more about, do you have a good story or a good fit for that office? That's my answer. Darren, do you want to add something on this?
No, I think you're completely right in it. I think it's very global in the sense that also there's a lot of people going to Spain as well, and Latam is very strong. I'm also seeing about how many candidates actually get MBB full-time offers. Like last year, we have a total of around 80 full-time offers, and that from MBBs, they're the biggest part. Probably more than 70% are going to MBBs, if I'm not mistaken. So it's pretty global, and also there's a lot of MBB presence from IESE. Let me see here.
I see one question on language barrier. I think it's a good question to address. So the question really is there a language barrier? Is language a barrier for consulting positions in Europe? Jack from Taiwan is asking this. So a good question, Jack. Yes, language could be a barrier. Realistically, European offices, except London and Amsterdam and maybe sometimes Zurich, require the candidate to have local proficiency, business proficiency in the local language. So Madrid would ask for Spanish, Milan would ask for Italian, and so on. This is not the case, of course. UK is good with English. Amsterdam is usually good with English also. I think McKinsey is a bit of an outlier. McKinsey offices all around the world have one rule, which is you need to have business proficiency of local language, no matter if it's even Zurich or Amsterdam. But for say BCG, Bain, usually, and even Monitor Deloitte in Amsterdam, Roland Berger in Amsterdam, usually English is sufficient. I hope I answered that question. So it's mostly yes, local language knowledge is needed. Could you share some light on how MBBs decide office location for non-EU candidates? Yugansh Gupta from India. Okay, Yugansh, I might want to understand your question better. So it's actually you who decide the office location. In the consulting application, candidates we have a choice to input our office preferences, most often office preference 1 and 2, or sometimes 1, 2, 3. So it's we who give a preference on which office we want to apply to. But of course, that office selection strategy has to be really tactical. You need to know why you are a fit in a particular office, as I mentioned before. So it could be either business proficiency in the local language, or that you have worked in that office before, or you have, I don't know, like some other connection which makes a lot of sense for that office to hire you. So it's not it's the other way around, where we put in our preferences for the offices. Of course, it needs to make sense for an interview invite to come. I hope I answered that question, Yugansh.
There's another question here that I see from Amanda that she asked if the process to get into a digital area of consulting is the same as the normal one, and if it's needed a portfolio or something like that. So I think it's a good question. Like MBBs, specifically McKinsey and BCG for a few countries, they have a specific application for the digital practice. Also, there are other design and innovation or more focused on digital consulting firms, but more boutique and smaller ones. And in general, like you don't need to create a portfolio or something. You just need the same kind of CVs and cover letter. But they expect that you have, of course, an experience on the digital area already. So you have some sort of expertise on this. So therefore, you could be invited for interview and then join the firm afterwards. See here, what else?
Thanks, Daran.
I see I think an interesting question. I think it's nice to talk about what's are students with more years of experience than the average class at a disadvantage when it comes to consulting positions. And I think that I can speak from ourselves here that we don't see this disadvantage at all. I think the consulting firms are really looking to people that are really interesting in making an impact and do some analysis and do the difference in the world. And regardless what your age, you definitely will have the same sort of opportunities from the consulting firms if from someone that's younger.
I also saw another question which is quite interesting. So, what are some personality traits you've seen that hold people back from excelling in the consulting career? I think maybe I'm not eligible to answer this because we usually our journey with the club usually ends on campus, and how people perform in the consulting career is usually a post-MBA thing. But I do want to mention something here. People often, and I think I can speak on behalf of at least Daran and I, because both of us were in consulting industry before the MBA as well. So I'm going to try and answer what fits or what doesn't fit in this industry. And I think one personality trait is definitely you need to embrace uncertainty and unknowns, because each project in consulting is often very different from the last one. It's not just a different client, but it could be a different geography altogether. It could be it is obviously a different business problem. It is also a different consulting team you're working with. So things change pretty much every 3-4 months in a consulting career. So if you really embrace that uncertainty and if you enjoy that change, I think that's a good personality trait. And I think on the same lines, if you do not like that environment, you can probably, then perhaps consulting is not the best career choice for you. And similarly, the other thing I want to add is the feedback culture is usually very thick in most consulting firms you saw on that slide, which means on a daily basis, you could be given feedback 10 times on every task you did. So if you do not enjoy being, given a lot of feedback on what to improve, then again, I think consulting could not be the best career choice for you. But if you really enjoy getting feedback so that, you improve yourself almost every day, then this is, I feel, the best career choice for you. Daran, do you want to add something on that?
No, I think you're totally right, and I think to complement, and I think it's a bit related to one question here from Kavish, asking what's the preferred pre-MBA background consulting firms look for while recruiting. So I think that's a bit related with what Anita said, and from my point of view as well. There's no clear preferred pre-MBA background. It's much more about what you did on your pre-MBA roles, like in terms of what kind of impact you had in that organization, how you develop people, if you're a curious person, if you had some quantitatively kind of analysis background, or anything that shows that you were a very passionate person about your job and about making the impact. So I would say that there's no clear preferred pre-MBA background, but specifically when you go into recruitment process, we're going to receive all the information on how you polish your CV to show how you created impact in the organization.
Is asking, maybe get to ESA, a consulting position in USA, being from LATAM.
Okay, I think that's a good question as well. I think in terms of going to US or any other region, I think it's again what Anita mentioned. It's a lot about why you're going to this place. What are the real reasons for you to go to a different country apart from your home one? Because I think this is very important for consulting firms. And then when you join here, you're going to see that you need to think thoroughly why you're doing, like for example, the decision to go to US. And of course, if you're coming from LATAM, if you have a clear reasoning why you're doing this, why this makes sense for your career and also for the consulting firm, I think there's no problem on that. But no, to be honest, that's not a usual situation. I think it would depend a lot about if you had the visa, if you have a family there, if you had some sort of history on working there. But that applies not only for US or Latin, but for any region that you go, you have to have some sort of specific reasons why you're going to this place.
True. I'm going to take this question from Amrit, connecting from India. Is it a stretch for a military officer to transition to consulting with an ESA MBA for, say, London, Amsterdam office? So veterans have made it to consulting from ESA earlier, yes. Even last year, there were people, and before that too. In my limited knowledge, I don't know. I don't know of a military officer from India, but I think again, it should not be very different a process, because for a veteran to move from US to London and for a veteran to move from India to London, I think things should be equally competitive. If both of you do not hold a work authorization, never worked in London, I think it should be equally competitive. Having said that, London is usually a very competitive office. So what I want to say is, I think you have as good chances as any other veteran at ESA, which usually happens. But I think, speaking more pragmatically, you might want to do more heavy lifting in your networking game. In really reaching out to people in these office locations of your interest and connecting with them and selling your transferable skills really well, transferable skills from your military background to consulting. Because so I think more so with MBBs, they have a better culture of hiring veterans. They definitely clearly see the value of those transferable skills that, you know, people from defense backgrounds bring. But I think it does demand a bit of networking from your side, which is achievable. Hope I answered your question, Amrit.
Thanks. I'm taking a look on another one here. Just saw one here. Just a second. Yeah, go there.
Okay, I can go. I do see another question here. What is the crucial criteria to choose as office besides the language? In MBB, is there a business sector more attached to each office? Okay, I think this is again going back to what Daran already mentioned, so I'm going to keep it short. Besides language, your overall fit with the geography, with that city is very important. Now that fit and that connection could come from many reasons. Personally, it could, like, there could be a personal fit or there could be a professional fit. Personal fit could be, okay, you are from the region, so you belong to the region, or you hold nationality, or you hold a passport, or your partner is from that region, your mom or dad is from that region, you know the language. These are all personal reasons, or you lived in that city. So these are all personal reasons which make you a fit for an office. Or sometimes personal reasons could just be that, you know, your fiance or your partner is moving to that location, so you have to live in that country, etc., etc. Or you have visited the country so many times, the city so many times, and you really have created a connection over these years. So these are all personal reasons. Then there could be a professional fit, which is you have either worked in that region, you have either worked for clients or customers in that region, which was my case with London. I never worked in London, but many of my clients were based in London. Or it could be you were on a secondment for, say, 6 months in a region, which was Daran's case at PwC. So there could be a mix of personal and professional reasons besides just the language, which can help you, you know, sell a good connection or a good fit with the region of your preference. Hope I answered it, Wesley.
There's a question here speaking apparently specific to my case from David Thompson. So he's asking, can you speak about having a non-consulting internship and going to consulting full-time? I have seen multiple people have this path. Is it because people try and they'll get consulting internships, or because you want to explore another path before? So I think it's a good question. I think many people actually don't do like an internship in consulting and then afterwards go to consulting. I think there are plenty of reasons, like you just mentioned, right? I think there are people that are from consulting and they want to try something different, so that they have a better experience before deciding going back to consulting. Like you said, there are people that probably are looking to consulting, but by any reason they couldn't get into. But what they do in the summer is to do a summer internship that helps them to build a better profile for the next consulting recruitment. So I think that the answer here is that it will depend a lot on each one objectives and each one MBA journey. I think it's very important to know that when you come to the MBA, you come to IESE, everyone here has a different kind of goal, and that will lead your path. And then your summer internship will be something that it will depends only about what you wanted to do and what you want to build for your career.
So Icha Kohli from India is asking, for a non-consulting background person, could you share your experience or advice on activities that helped you most, given one has to juggle multiple things during an MBA? Great question, Icha. I think good. I'm happy that you acknowledge that MBA requires a lot of juggling. That is very true. I think activities most useful for non-consulting backgrounds of that the club offers are basically the prep sessions. I think the prep sessions are clearly drafted on, you know, keeping in mind what skills are tested in an interview, and then those skills and those tasks are broken down into one session at a time, one skill at a time, one interview part at a time, one case interview part at a time, and delivered to students in 1-2 hour sessions, which are lecture first, and then interactions, and then exercises or some drills. So I think those interview prep sessions are the most useful, I feel. But I wouldn't say, I think it doesn't, having said that, everything else, all other activities that the club performs is also as much crucial, I would say, to make it and get to the finish line as much as is the prep. But I think prep forms the core of all the activities that the club activities that the club does. May I know if there are people from automotive industry in consulting? Absolutely, Saurabh. There are people. In fact, a very close friend of mine who comes from this industry is now interning at BCG Dubai. So I think in general, I do want to just re-emphasize the fact that consulting as an industry really, I think not just send out invites, but also really needs diverse backgrounds. So people from all possible industries could have a consulting career. It's just more about how you identify your transferable skills and how you sell that. How do you project that, portray that in an interview setting? So to your question, yes is the answer.
Good. There's one here from Roberto Giotti, asking, is the coaching provided by the consulting club mainly focused on strategic consulting? Are there other tracks considered like digital operations implementation? So like those other tracks that there are, for example, digital for McKinsey, operations McKinsey, and there are other consulting firms focused on this. Like the preparation process, they tend to be the same. You're going to have the same sort of cases. Probably in the operations side, you'll be a bit more focused for operations kind of cases, and implementation, the same thing. But broadly, all the CV, cover letter, and the events and preparation in terms of training, they will be the same. I think that when you do like the mentorship with the consulting club, and then you highlight that you want to go either for digital operations, for example, definitely your mentor will help you and guide you in the best way to understand the nuances of your preparation and what difference you can do to improve your odds on getting a better offer or getting a better interview process. So definitely, like the consulting club is aware of this, and then we try even to make specifically for digital and innovation, design thinking kind of consulting firms that are specific ones. We also have events, and we try to create a more networking environment for those firms. But yeah, definitely, just answer your question simply. Yeah, we also help on those other apart from strategic consulting practice. There's a very interesting question. I like it here from Amrit Hundal, which does the case method curriculum complement case interview preparation and augment proficiency at case interviews? I think that's a great question. And in terms of how is the case itself, like that you do in your interview, it is different for sure from how is a case in the essay. But I think that the way that the case method works, and the way that you're going to learn along the IESE curriculum definitely will help you in the way that you think and the way that you prepare yourself for an interview. Of course, it's not completely and directly an influence, but I think the case method actually helps you to think more outside the box, think how to help you to think on how to resolve a problem. And then I think that this mindset helps you along the preparation. So definitely, I believe that the case method helped me and the others here. Do you have any point on that, Anita?
Sure. I think I would just echo what Daran said. The case methodology completely complements at least the muscle of critical thinking, problem solving, which the consulting club also tries to build, and which you need as a consultant any which way in any firm. So I think it's a good complement. There are differences, honestly, between a case that we do in a class in 1.15 hours. So it's like one hour of case discussion versus 30 minutes or 20 minutes of super intense and rapid case solving during an interview. So there are differences, fundamental differences, but the underlying logic of how you think about a business problem is pretty much the same. So I do feel the two things are very complementary. Okay, are the mentoring and preparation sessions usually conducted face-to-face? Okay, great question, Roberto, again. Yes, every session. So I think there's a pre-COVID and a post-COVID answer to this. Until last year, every activity club did was in person. And done physically on campus, or even if it was outside campus, a social event, all the events were presential. This year, the school has made great efforts in abiding by the restrictions and, safety protocols to ensure that all of us get a physical experience of our MBA. We are able to attend classes, etc. And as part of those safety protocols, as many sessions that can be avoided are not done physically. Club sessions are done virtually this year, but I think we have put in a lot of efforts and planning into making sure that the engagement and the quality of our sessions is still as much great as it was till last year. So all our interview prep sessions are virtual. They're done virtually on Zoom. About 200 people log in on Zoom. There's enough engagement, Q&A back and forth. But mentorship is one-on-one and definitely happens in person, not just on campus, but also outside campus. So you have your mentor, you have a set of 2-3 mentors usually. So it really depends on you and your mentor and your personal schedules and preferences on how you want to connect with each other. So I feel it's a mix of both, all in all, to basically abide by the safety protocols we have at IESE right now.
There's another interesting question here from Georgie, which I'm interested in what alternatives do consulting club members have if consulting career doesn't work out, and how skills learned during the club activities are complement other industry roles. I think that's a very interesting question because from the beginning of our mandate here, like helping the consulting club, I always say is that the consulting club preparation in terms of the case preparation, the fit questions preparation, they really help for any other interview, essentially because other firms like outside consulting, for example, Amazon and other tech firms, sometimes they do cases a bit different from what you have in consulting, but also like similar. And everything that you learn in the consulting preparation for the case prep, like it will definitely be an advantage for you. Like in your other interviews, you're going to have a better structured mindset. You're going to have a very clear analytical thinking and trying to always solve a problem. And also, I would say that a lot of people that went to other roles outside of consulting, for example, in a summer internship, they were really happy on how the consulting preparation actually helped them in their job outside consulting. So yeah, definitely I would say that there are plenty of other opportunities besides consulting if when you join IESE. And of course, if you join the consulting club, you're going to have a lot of trainings that will help you along any other kind of interview or any other process. There's a question here from Eugene Cho. If you have participated in case competitions, would you mind sharing your experience? Yes, I did fill case competitions last year, and what I'd say is that it was an amazing experience for me. I think it's very a nice way to try to solve a real and complex problems like in real life, and also start networking with the firms, knowing how they work. I think also a very interesting point is that you're going to have your case competition team. You become much more closer to these people. You're going to learn a lot with them. It's a very nice experience for you to learn and for you to show also that you're interested in consulting. Definitely, I would say it was one of my most interesting experience here so far.
Someone's asking about, so Georgie is asking about something interesting. Hi, thank you for the interesting session. Thanks, Georgie. I'm interested, what alternatives do consulting club members have if consulting career doesn't work out, and how skills learned during, oh, you covered this. Yeah. Perfect, okay. Thanks, Daran. If you've participated in case competitions we done, how does the internship preparation or recruiting process work once students are on campus? Okay, thanks for the question, David. There could be a very long answer to this, but briefly, you get on campus, you start working on your CV, you meet firms on career forums and you hear about different firms and you figure out which appeals to you, which office you want to go into. So you create your office selection strategy. In the meantime, club is also preparing you for all the skills and how to crack a case, etc. And then somewhere around November mid or end November, Application deadlines are set. You send in your applications. You get to know whether you're invited or not by December mid. Interviews happen in January, throughout January, sometimes also in Feb. By Feb end, March early, you either have or not have an offer, and then after consulting is kind of consulting recruitment is kind of done. Comes other great firms, Amazon, Rakuten, and sometimes some smaller boutique consulting firms also come in later. So that's really how the consulting recruitment process work at ESA. Very briefly, of course, we can go into more details later. Could you talk about some consulting treks organized by the club in the CDC? Tejas Jalan. Okay, thanks for the question, Tejas. Consulting treks or the career forums are basically interacting points where you visit companies in their different locations. Until last year, pre-COVID, these treks were presential. So there was a London consulting trek wherein a group of 30 people flew to London from ESA, and there was a set agenda for every day of the 3 days of trek. We visit the firms, their offices, their campus. We interact with the partners and managers and associates, and there's a Q&A presentation, a lunch, a high tea kind of a thing. So this is usually the agenda every day, and you visit different firms. So there was a consulting trek in London, Dubai, Madrid. Anything else, Zaran? No. Zurich? I think these are the 3 big consulting treks, yeah. But now this year, since this career forum would be virtual, I think there are more locations which have been added. I think that which is one upside of things going digital.
Yeah, just to complement, I think with the virtual setting, although we cannot go to London and kind of things, but like Anita said, like we have now office from Latin and other countries in Europe that we wouldn't have this possibility if we don't have this virtual setting. So yeah, definitely there are like even more opportunities as well with this situation.
Okay, I think we can perhaps have room only for last 2 questions. So Kavish from London is asking, is there enough time to prepare for the interview given MBA program starts in September and the interview starts in Jan? Yes, Kavish, this is usual. This is pretty much the case for other B schools as well. So there is enough time. Having said that, the first term, which is the first term of MBA, and also is the prep term, is quite hectic. It is intense, honestly, but that's how it is, and that's how it has been every year, and people make it through. So don't worry. And then I think we can take one more last question. Daran, do you want to pick up?
Yeah, there's one that I hear from Antoine Gat. So from the IESE employment reports, largely consulting the first employment sector post-MBA, whereas equally represented has finance and tech in internships. So it seems MBA students tend to choose consulting at the end of the MBA. Is that the case? So like I think that the answer first is that it's not that MBA students, they decide to go to consulting only at the end, but also that more firms they come to recruitment in the full time, essentially because a lot of boutique firms, they don't do recruitment in the summer internship because they don't have scale for that, but they definitely come around, and more firms and more offices open for the full time. And probably I would say that's why you have a higher amount of offers in the full time than in their internship.
Great. I think with that, we would like to just, conclude the session. First of all, thank the admissions office, Andrea and Carmen, for giving us the opportunity, and you guys also this opportunity to interact. And perhaps we hope that you had you got a good overview of how the club runs. If not everything, you got to know the key information of how the club runs and how consulting recruitment work at ESA. if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to either of us on LinkedIn, and we'll try to respond as soon as possible. And to everyone who has an ESA offer, we hope to see you here next year. And for everyone else who's perhaps still applying, good luck, and we hope for the best.